Hello and welcome everyone to Randomania 2, where we have a Highway to the Threemus Zone match in the Magma rounds for Zyrak versus ZoeVermilion. Zoe noted for her upset against the veteran Zilch at the final week of the group stages, and Zyrak himself being in a 2 wins, 1 loss, 3-way tie, sending very many people in that group to the Magma route. So this feels like it's a fairly close matchup. Zyrak has been around in the community a little longer, but Zoe has proven herself to be quite the rising star in this after picking up the game just this year, and this is her first tournament. Zyrak, on the other hand, has been around a while, but has some fairly solid finishes. So, and I'm here with my co-commentator Xenocat. I'll pass the mic over to them.
Yeah, so right away, looking at the start, we see an edge start. That's going to be really nice for clearing the overworld. Neither runner should have any problems with any of the overworld checks, unless there's a particularly nasty boss early on. As for our objectives, we have return the Pan to Yang's wife, defeat the king at the Town of Monsters, and unlock the sealed cave. So we're looking at potentially not needing to go to the moon at all.
Although we do have, that is 2 additional required key items in the objective set, so they're like with only one of the objectives kind of available without needing extra key items, because we're kind of under the assumption that you need to get underground at some point regardless. That means that, you know, with key items scattered all over the place and 4 of them being associated with Go mode, the moon is also not especially likely to be completely haunted.
That's very true. And that King at the Town of Monsters check is looking very spicy.
Yeah, depending on what that boss is, that could be quite a rough one.
Yeah, that spot has one of the highest physical attack powers in the game and is very fast and will hit very hard. So if you're not prepared for that, if some nasty physical boss rolls there, these runners could be in for a rough time.
I've already got people in chat rooting for that King of Summon Monsters to be something especially nasty, such as like an Evil Wall or Antlion, that just like, you know, something that's going to just wail on you with physical attacks right out of the gate. Interestingly, if it's a magic attack based boss, it's not going to be especially threatening. That spot has relatively weak magic power, and our runners are off. We'll get to see our starting item, and it looks like we have a pair of edges here. So got some twins and some Dragoon armor. Not especially what they wanted to see, especially with nobody that can equip it right now.
Yeah. I mean, that'll be really nice if they find a Kane or a Sid early on that they want to use, but...
You know, with 2 edges, like, it's kind of hard to value other melee characters very highly, though.
That is certainly true, although Edge does take a lot of work to stay endgame viable, and since he requires 2 ninja swords to really do well in the endgame, and it's not very likely that they'll find 4 ninja swords in the course of this seed.
Well, there's one way that they can find 4 ninja swords in the course of that seed, and that is that on S standard, ninja swords can potentially be bought in shops, in particular underground shops.
That is true, but they're rather expensive.
Immediately selling that ice armor that was out of that pot and buying a stack of life potions and some tents and Thor rages. Meanwhile, Zyrak is just going to immediately engage this boss fight. It's only guarding a Dark Knight Cecil, but this is a very quick key item unlock. it looks like we have the Baron officers, which is essentially a free fight.
Yeah, this is a really interesting play because normally you would put off the Baron in because it's usually too high level for most parties to take on. However, with two ninjas here who are basically ready to take on the underworld, Baron in poses very little to no threat. And to answer a question in chat, the item start was just a Dragoon armor, so nothing, no key items, nothing we can use, and we get a spoon from the Baron in.
Yeah,
that's a really nice start, for those ninjas.
Not so sure we're going to be too excited to throw it right away. Zoe is very aggressively checking shops, having already checked in Mist, spotted a Dwarf Axe, and definitely seemed to have taken a moment to note it. We see Ether 2s in Kaipo.
Yeah, that Dwarf Axe is going to be really nice if they find a Kane, because that's, I believe, the only weapon in the game that can give Kane the back row glitch, which will allow him to attack normally from the back row.
Yeah, it's also a weapon that gives -5 to agility, so it can be used for agility anchoring purposes.
Very true. For those of you who don't know what the back row glitch is, in this game, if you equip a ranged weapon, the game sets a back row bit on that character. However, if you then unequip that ranged weapon and swap it for something else, the game forgets to unset that bit, so that character will still attack normally from the back row for the rest of the game. And you can use it to put your melee characters in the back row if you want them to have some extra protection. It's very useful.
That's especially useful. Especially useful with the Paladin Cecil. We did see Cecil in the Baron in. You can stick a Cecil in the back row, and if he's covering another character, even if he's covering a character that's in the front row, he's in the back row, so he's taking back row damage. And that's actually one way that we could see our players get through that King of Summon Monster, King of Feymarch boss fight, despite not, like, even if it's a very dangerous physical boss.
Yeah, for sure. We see Iridia in the Watery Pass, which is very interesting because she provides early access to warp, which will allow them to use the warp glitch potentially when they get underground, and a Rubicant in Antlion on Zoe's side.
Rubicant's just going to eat that Ninja Star. Zoe's not worried about that 25,000 gold that Ninja Star could provide. Instead, just going to, get through the boss fight ASAP. Oh, that's a Sand Ruby. That is interesting. All right.
Yeah, I don't remember who was in the bed or if Zoe checked it.
Zoe did not check it, and Zoe might be annoyed at herself for not checking it now.
Yeah. It's
with two edges, I would say they're runners are probably hoping that a white mage shows up of some flavor. Preferably Rosa usually is preferred for her significantly higher hit points and earlier spells. In particular, earlier endgame spells. But
yeah,
there's a lot of other things that could round out this kind of party.
Yeah. Looks like both of our runners are going through Damsian to find this character, and there's our white mage that you were talking about. There's our Rosa. Both of our runners are going to be quite happy to see this Rosa. Because you never like to finish a seed and not have a white mage for the Zeromus fight.
It certainly makes the Zeromus fight significantly more of a challenge to set up for and execute if you don't have a white mage available.
Yeah. Looks like Zyrock is going to be diving down into Antlion now. We'll probably have no issues with this Rubicant and should be getting his Sand Ruby shortly as he finishes looting.
Yeah, I'm curious if he's also going to attempt to avoid those the Fire 2 counterattacks that Rubicant does if you hit him with melee, or if he's just going to ignore that, hit Rubicant with those short swords and kill it that way, because the short swords will make short work of this spot.
Yeah.
So you won't take too many Fire 2 counters.
And the magic in Antlion isn't terribly high, so
It is pretty low.
the Fire 2 counters won't be doing too much damage. We see an Alt Gauntlet in the Waterfall from Zoe. That's probably very nice for for her to see out of the way.
We do see Kayn up on Mount Hobbs. She's not going to take the time to pick it up. You know, as I mentioned earlier, like when you already have 2 edges, like your melee situation's kind of already set. You're willing to take the Kayn if you have a great weapon for him, I would say. But with, I think an Ogre Axe is the best weapon we've seen. It's not especially exciting.
Yeah. Without one of those top tier weapons like a defense sword, Dragoon Lance, or a White Spear, Kayn is not that exciting.
Yeah, we're seeing on Zyric's side taking noticeably longer on this Rubicon fight, just because, you know, did proc those Fire 2 counters. Also with a 5 character party, had to pass the turn a few times. And pick up the 30 health Rydia that had died to the Fire 2.
Zoe about to give us our Fabul defense check. It's a Lunar Sparkle of some kind. Oh, it's the D-Lunars. I wouldn't be too worried about this fight here. Zoe showing off that the D-Lunars are undead and take damage from cure potions that our runners started with.
They're undead. They also give a nasty virus script counter if you hit them with melee attacks, which can be very dangerous even in a spot such as this. But between the Cure 2s and the weakness to fire, Zoe makes short work of that. We see 1 turn out of those D-Lunars, and they are down. Which spell was... I have not seen this spell before. The Mage spell. I don't actually know its spell power.
I don't believe it's particularly good.
Okay.
But that is a spicy find on the back of Hobbs and Murasame.
Oh, that is a spicy find.
That's going to get
is immediately
one of those
slapped on
ninjas.
edge. The agility penalty is obnoxious, but the power it has far outweighs that, especially when you're replacing a short sword with it.
Yeah, that edge is going to be swinging for a lot more damage. Yeah. And Fabul defense, just giving the pass, so no progression there, but that is a nice shortcut to the Zeromus fight.
Yeah.
Once our runners have their crystal.
It is absolutely something you're happy to see. Zoe's still aggressively checking shops. Hasn't seen any edge swords, which is likely one of the things that she's looking for actively. Long swords can show up on the overworld, and in the underworld you can additionally see ninja swords, so spotting those would be a great boon.
Yeah. Looks like Zoe found a longsword somewhere and is now going to head up non-ordeals, after hitting up the Chocobo Forest.
You know, she does tend to like this Chocobo Forest. It is just a slumber sword this time, but it does have a slightly higher bias in this this wildish setting to have some potentially good stuff. In general, like out of the way spots like that tend to be a little bit more favored.
Yeah. Ooh, finding this Tella on Mount Ordeals.
That's an interesting find. You know, Tella's much maligned, but he does open up a lot of possibilities, such as D-machine grinding, which can be very powerful if you set it up early, or you know, just a lot of utility spells. He also can make a very good anchor if you just want to like stick it in the middle of your middle slot and let his low agility make everyone else faster.
Yeah. And Zoe showing us that Evil Wall cannot be at our Leviathan spot today, as he has taken over the first spot on Mount Ordeals.
Gonna throw out some of these vampires for damage here. There's not a lot of better ways to use them right now. They tend to wear out their welcome after the overworld. But Rosa hitting for a 600 just like these edges are is very welcome.
Yeah, for sure. And
Evil Wall goes down without taking too much time.
and going right into the back attack, which is an Asura. This is a relatively safe fight. Although
with what's available, we're gonna either see her use Star Veils or potentially set up the Lifelock glitch. Is what it's not really a glitch. The Lifelock manipulation. Looks like she's just gonna go with Star Veils. What Lifelock is essentially there's an RNG manipulation that you can do where if you hit Ashura immediately after she uses the Life 1 spell, when she rotates her heads, she will always come back up with the gray head again. And that can make that fight go, like, make it possible even if you have no sources of reflect. We have info from chat that Mage's spell power is actually 96, which is higher than Fire 2, Lit 2, Ice 2. It's almost as high as Virus. It apparently also has a chance to paralyze. So it's actually a fairly respectable summon considering like the like what you can possibly get there.
Yeah.
That's one of the more powerful options.
Yeah, it's not a Sylph or an Asura or an Odin, but it's definitely up there.
I don't usually get excited to see Odin or Ashura. I generally want raw damage out of the summon that I get there, especially because Ashura and Odin, like, if I really need them, I might see them in shops or from a chest, and you cannot get a spell like Mage from a chest.
Fair enough. Zoe about to show us what the reward is from this mountain. And that is a Magma key. Easy underground access for these runners.
Very straightforward underground access. Looks like Zyra was trying to do this without using Star Veils, but isn't properly setting up a Lifelock.
But gets through the fight.
Yeah, gets through the fight without too much fuss. Didn't get any major Cure 3s or 4s after getting most of the damage out.
And as we see on Zoe's screen, completing Ordeals not only is the key item check, but it will also get Tella a whole bunch of useful spells, including the Warp spell. So she doesn't even need to pick up that Rydia to have easy access to Warp and be able to use the Warp glitch in Dwarf Castle.
Zyrak nipping at her heels, clearing up Ordeals himself. He does have that one additional check already done in Baronin, but that was a very fast check, so. And Zoe has definitely invested a little bit of time into checking shops.
And we're getting our first look at the free characters in Mysidia. It's just a second Tella and an Edward. Zoe resetting right out.
Yep, already have a Tella, and Not interested in Edward right now.
Yeah.
Even with that spoon in hand.
Well, she
Oh,
hasn't
yes,
been to Baron Inn, so
that's
she
true.
hasn't
Yeah,
found the
I
spoon
forgot
yet.
about that. I honestly don't get very excited about Spoonward. In all my practices of this, I used Spoonward 0 times, and I know that might make people sad.
Spoonward does have his uses. He does a lot of damage. He can be putting out probably more damage than these edges at this stage of the
At
game.
this stage, with the weapons Edge has now, that's probably true, but his very notable lack of strength kind of inhibits him from doing much more than that. And the really good strength gear is still hard to come by even on settings like this. So he does restock a little bit on Star Veils, as well as a couple exits in case if she drops that Tella. Did see bandanas and wizard robes in that shop. And here's our long swords, and Zoe's gonna go and do some selling.
Yeah, dropping that Dragoon armor, thinking that she's probably not gonna take another melee fighter with these two ninjas.
Does accidentally buy one more longsword than she needs, but immediately corrects that. However, dual longsword edge is substantially better than dual short sword edge. And like her edges are likely going to be out damaging Zyrax even though she's missing that Murasame. Also getting that Thunderclaw for utility purposes, that'll double the damage that Edge can do, or even quadruple against some bosses.
Yeah.
So it'll be like it's interesting to see someone like invest into that utility.
Yeah, the Thunderclaw can come in handy against a number of bosses, including Odin and Kainaza, who can be especially rude at certain places.
Actually, also against Dr. Luge, Form 2, which we've already seen. Because he's mechanical.
Yes. Zyrak giving us our job dwarf check. It's a dental office administrator.
Zoe is
looks like today.
Immediately beelining the Fey March, it seems, and opening the boxes down here, which are a little bit favored over the overworld boxes. Getting the monster in a box, and it looks like immediately resetting. Knowing that that's there, she's going to get rewarded with a life staff and also be able to freely loot all of the lower level boxes down here to fund any further shopping that she has planned.
Yeah, in an area like this walk down to the Fey March where there's only one trap chest, if you can find that one trap chest early, you can know that every other chest in here is free for the looting.
Interesting. Zyrak actually picks up a dragon whip for his Rydia. It'll be interesting to see if he leverages, like if and when he leverages that, possibly for leveling. Zoe also gets rewarded with a cursed ring in that Fey March Monster Zone chest.
And a free ninja sword from this trove of chests here in the Fey March, which I'm sure she'll appreciate.
Absolutely. Ninja Sword's roughly about the same power overall as the Murasame. It has slightly less attack power, but doesn't have the agility penalty, and it ends up mathing out to about the same. Bacchus finds and Silkwebs in the shop that Zyrak's at, both very useful. It's at Dwarf Castle.
And Zoe finding sirens down in the Fey March. So there's the grind taken care of.
The one thing I didn't take note of is what was in the shop at Tamra. What was in that weapon shop or item shop?
I didn't catch that either.
Iraq is going to go for the Dwarf Castle check. Zoe's hoping perhaps that there is a free boss in this Leviathan spot.
I would not say that is free.
That is not a free boss. She does want to find out which Mylon this is. Val is something that can be handled with a blink and so forth, but I don't even think her Rosa is leveled enough to have blink. So it would just be that Tella, and I don't think that Tella alone would be able to keep up with
Yeah, that Val is going to get a lot easier at higher levels.
There's an interesting pickup. Zoe actually buys a couple Drain Spears for throwing ammunition. Throwing the kitchen sink at Valvalis is certainly one way to deal with the spinning.
Yeah. Zyrek going through this antline at the first spot of Dwarf Castle.
Yeah, it looks like the fight's not exactly going great.
Yeah.
Those counterattacks at this spot do a lot of damage in the 250 range, and that's proving to. And the melee attacks hit just as hard, almost one-shotting Rosa there. So he's spending almost as much time healing as he is doing damage, and that's kind of frustrating.
Yeah, whiffing that Berserk because the edge went down. That has to feel frustrating at this spot.
So we might go back above ground after checking in with Yang.
Is stopping by Hobbs to get the cane now?
Yeah, with that Valvalis at a required spot, this makes a lot of sense.
That's very true. Kane is the one character who can knock Valvalis out of her spin. And that will allow the ninjas to do a lot more damage there. And knowing this is Mylon and Friends, after checking and finding Mylon Z in the Fey March, this is going to be a very easy fight to get through for her.
Yeah, she didn't even bother healing up, and it won't matter. I mean, maybe it will matter, because these Lit 1 counterattacks are a little annoying.
Yeah, Kane can tank them.
I forgot about the counterattacks. Okay, Kane tanked one, and just gonna throw that Ogre Axe on Kane. That's an acceptable weapon. Not exactly top tier, but good enough that you're not sad to have it. Looks like in Dwarf Castle, we have another copy of Edge. Do you take your third Edge? Zyrek doesn't. He hasn't been shopping, so he hasn't seen those purchasable longswords, and he's probably worried about actually having sufficient weapons for all the edges.
Yeah, if you're not shopping for ninja swords, it's very difficult to naturally find enough katanas to outfit 3 edges.
Speaking of that Murasame, by the way, there's that Murasame ninja sword combo out of Zoe here, and that is very welcome.
Yeah, that edge is pretty much equipped for endgame at this point.
Yep. I'll be walking out with a Tella and a handful of exits. That's a minor misplay. Minor technical error.
Okay, getting her Tella back up and now using exit. And let's see what this warp glitch gives us on Zyrak's side.
Yep, this is going to be...
Well, there's the pan.
That is certainly a required thing. We're still looking for either the Luca key or both halves of the Excalibur.
And there's the tower key from the King of the Dwarves, or from Luca's neck. That's really nice to find early. It allows you to get both checks in tower done at the same time. Zarek looks to be heading to check this pan check and do both of the Sheila checks first.
Yep.
Which makes a lot of
somebody points out in chat though that because that was at the crystal spot, so that's actually the sealed cave location that you're checking there, and that means that this cannot be or lead to the Luca key. So that's interesting to note here, that this can't be go mode via just finding the Luca key immediately.
Yes. But with that Legend Sword pickup from the Sylphs, we could find go mode from the Sheila 2 giving the Adamant.
Zoe decides to dart at the lead soldier there, and then so that the attack scripts don't go off. And after that, the soldiers also actually get confused and start hitting each other. I doubt she's going to take this Cecil, however. You know, you throw some things and you get a spoon out of it. You're not too sad to see that, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, trading your worst darts for a better dart, I suppose.
She sends Yugi into the Shadow Realm. Wait a minute. Interesting to see what she chooses to do next. She does have a pile of sirens available to her if she wants to just immediately grind and take out that Leviathan fight, the Volvalis. She also, has a warp caster available if she chooses to do. Interesting. She's heading into Lower Babel.
Yeah, this is interesting. Looks like she's looking for trap chests, maybe looking to steal a few more sirens, or just looking to.
I think she might just be trying to get like some fancy gear because the trap chests can have amazingly powerful gear.
Yeah, and especially with that Thunderclaw that she's got, should be able to one-shot all these alerts.
Well, this is getting pretty deep in there without seeing a trap box if that's what she's looking for.
Yeah, looks like she's walking out.
Siren also gets that monster in a box and immediately hits the reset button.
And it looks like Zoe's grinding up, may want to be taking on that Feymarch fight soon.
Yeah, there is the adage of do what's required. I'm gonna go for a stop on the egg first so that it doesn't hatch.
Always a good play when you don't quite have the damage to take the egg out in one hit.
Yeah, it looks like she does have the damage to take the egg out in 2 hits, which might be a little faster than stopping, but if you're not sure you have that damage, then it's probably better than eating a bunch of thunders. It looks like Zyrek also finds that cursed ring in Feymarch. I'm going to take a moment to equip Kane with some real gear.
And it looks like was just trying to get that Kane a couple levels before heading into Dwarf Castle.
Yeah, that makes sense. Make sure that you're able to deal with this boss a little more swiftly, just from the strength bonuses and so forth. She also hasn't checked these shops yet. And those Bacchus wines are very welcome. A very welcome sight for her too.
Yeah, meanwhile, Zyrak finding his sirens and is probably going to take a look at what these Fame Arch bosses are soon, and find out the bad news about who's in the Leviathan spot.
So he's still checking shops, hoping to find a ninja sword. Most likely is the highest priority item for her. Zyrak is sitting on a couple different keys that could lead to more key items, so Chad is theorizing that he might not want to spend much time grinding right now. Zoe's still just sitting on that Sand Ruby, the Magma key, and the spoon.
Looks like Zyrak's giving this Mylon Z a shot.
What's interesting here, one thing that's interesting here is that when Zoe gets through this, who would you drop for the third edge if you want that third edge? Because she did specifically take Kane for knowing that Valvalis is a required boss effectively in a difficult spot, no less.
Yeah, I can't see anyone on this team getting dropped for the third edge because Rosa is your white mage, and if you want to do that warp glitch, you're going to need to keep Tela around.
Yep, yeah, it's important not to drop your only warp caster here. She is making much shorter work of this fight, even led off with a Drain Spear throw before casting Berserk. But has more hit points to deal with the high amounts of incoming melee damage. Still drops the Antlion still drops the Cane, but Antlion's taken 1800 from a Berserked edge here. She's just gonna parry with other characters and there it goes. So let's look over to this Mylon Z fight.
Yeah.
Trying to hold down with Blink, because those melee attacks, Rydia takes 900 damage melee attack.
Yeah. Looks like Rosa has some gear that gives her a little bit more defense, but the melee attacks at this spot, while they're not quite as bad as they would be at the Leviathan spot, still hurt quite a bit.
Alright, so it does look like Zoe did opt to just leave the edge behind, but took his gear because, that black belt shirt and the bandana, those are very welcome to stick on the Cane.
And that edge swapping to the Mute Knife, easily taking out the elements here.
Yep, this second Rubicant in the element spot is a mage, and that is a quad damage weakness abuse, and down goes that fight. Zyrak still struggling through this fight against Mylon Z. Putting out consistent damage with the Berserked edges, keeping Rosa healed as best he can. But those blinks are wearing out, so I'm not sure if I'm not sure how close Mylon Z is to being dead here.
Yeah. Zoe doing the warp glitch, getting her pan, and will shortly get her tower key as well.
Yep.
And Zyrak is through the Mylon Z fight now. And we get the Earth Crystal. Yet another chain.
That's generally one that is a lower priority to check because the Tower of Zot is no short check. But
yeah, it's a long walk, there's a lot of cutscenes, and this party is pretty good, so probably not looking to pick up the characters from the top of Zot. However, it does open up the Troya Treasury, which is the best place to loot in the game.
I know some people really enjoy playing Rate That Treasury. Because the treasury can have, up to even a reasonable chance of having a tier 7 item, such as a Masamune.
Yeah. Looks like he's going to give this Val fight a shot while he's down in the Fame Arch. Makes sense from a routing perspective, because it takes a while to walk back down here. And we'll see how this turns out.
Zoe checking her final underground shop. Doesn't see those ninja swords that she was hoping for. Chat pointing out that we have very few chain key items left. With just the hook to turn in that rat tail and the twin harp still yet to be found.
Zyrak looks like is throwing everything he's got at this Valvalis, literally.
Yep, those blinks have got to go out for this fight to be doable, because you know the melee damage here and the weak casts, you know, combination, like it's going to be a long fight, and you've absolutely got to keep your characters alive for it. Zoe picking up her legend sword from the Sylphs. And with Rosa going down, that could mean that this Valvalis fight is just gonna start spiraling out of control for her. Or for him. Sorry, not for Zoe. Zoe's not on the Valvalis fight.
To answer a question in chat, they have not found Demist yet.
That's true. We have checked Hobbs and Octomam as far as like extraneous boss spots on Earth. I don't think anyone's checked the Demist spot?
I don't believe so. I think neither runner has been to that Mist Cave check.
So Zyrak does successfully pick up the Rosa and gets the blink up on her, so this fight might well be stable now for her. Or for him. Sorry, I keep looking back over to Zoe's screen. Zoe returns the pan and gets the Baron Key.
Yeah, gets that Baron Key and that rat tail from Sheila 1.
The other thing you have to worry about on this long fight is that you have to worry about Edge getting potentially turned to stone, and so that heal comes out to prevent that from happening. But it's putting out consistent damage.
Yeah, looks like Zoe's heading up the Tower of Babel next. With the tower key in hand, this makes sense. Head up to the top, get one check, hit up the super cannon room, get another check as you leave.
Yeah, it could bring her up to 10 key items. She's pretty close now with that large number of key items out of that Pan subquest. Yeah, Zyrak does bring down that Valvalis. Wasn't exactly a fast fight, but he did keep it stable for the most part, and
gets a darkness crystal.
Oh
from
my!
That Val.
So that's certainly a find.
Yeah. Yes, that opens up.
That is extra. That is extra required, essentially.
Not necessarily. If we find an Adamant or a Luca key from this Tower of Babel.
That's true.
Or both. That Val fight could be completely optional. But with the amount of checks that Darkness Crystal opens up, it's very likely that at least one of the objectives is behind that.
I forgot for a moment that we did already have the pass when I said that. So 8 key items on Zoe's side. Is that 10 on Zyrak's? Yeah, that is 10 on Zyrak's side.
So Zyrak will be getting double experience from the top of tower, which is quite a significant amount. This spot gives, I believe, more than the Asura spot. base experience.
On the other hand, Zoe did spend a couple minutes opening those boxes, gets rewarded with a Mazamune.
And that's Golbez at the top tower. And a defense sword from an untrapped chest here in the Tower of Babel on Zoe's
that's
screen.
one of
that is huge for that
often
Kayn.
Considered Kayn's best weapon, other than the Avenger sword, because it has higher accuracy than the White Spear or the Dragoon Spear, and therefore will generally melee for more damage. See what this last trap chest is as Zyrek enters that Golbez fight, and we're likely to see our characters in the Golbez fight at the same time. The back of the swine is not something you're excited about when you already have them from a shop, but it's not useless either. Chat pointing out Golbez isn't really a threat here. His spell power, Dr. Luge's spell power, is very low in the base game, so not really going to see any it's very unlikely that anyone can wipe on this, but it isn't a fast fight, and the players do have an opportunity here to maybe pull off some things to make the fight go faster.
Yeah, none of Golbez's spells are going to be a threat at all, with the exception of maybe a Lit 3 might do a somewhat significant amount of damage, but it has very little chance of actually wiping out any one of the party members here.
Only 300 damage from the virus. Lit 3 does about twice as much damage as that. So, still not enough for a virus and a Lit 3. That edge does need some healing before getting too beat up.
Yeah, but with that Cure 3, Edge should be safe as long as Rosa stays up. And Rosa's got a Star Veil, so she'll be perfectly safe here on Zyrek's side.
Question in chat, do kamikazes work if fired on Golbez before the ha-ha-ha? I don't believe they do.
No, I believe if you try to use a kamikaze before the cutscene script plays, it will consume the item, but your character will not die, and it will just miss.
Like you can kamikaze one of your own party members, which is good if you're trying to keep specific party members alive. So Zyrek takes out Golbez. Zoe's looking through the kitchen sink. Gonna just throw the spoon.
Yeah. Getting a white shirt from this Golbez fight, which is not a terrible find. It's a huge upgrade for Rosa's armor, but not progression.
It's not progression, and you often don't want to see not progression when you're climbing the tower all the way to the top.
Especially
they do have
after
power key, so there's still one more check up here.
But especially after sitting through that long Golbez fight, you do not want to see something that isn't progression.
Zoe just doing hold A strats against this Golbez with the Star Veil up. Not going to bother with a back of swine. After throwing that spoon for like, ooh, ouch. That's the Star Veil worn off. Oh, that was a little scary. Edge drops to 31 health.
Yikes.
Gonna pop the elixir for that one, just to be sure, because you do not want to lose this kind of time.
Yeah. Meanwhile, on Zyrek's side, we see Karate is manning the super cannon controls today. Goes down very easily. And as Zoe enters this Super Cannon Room fight, we'll see what the reward for taking out that Karate Master was.
Zoe not even going to take the time to bring anyone else up for this this karate fight, and just hold A.
And that's a Twin Harp.
That is a Twin Harp. We have all the options available to us.
Yeah, the only check that our runners can't make at this point is turning in that rat tail.
Yeah. We have a question in chat what the crumble skip is. So against the bosses that have the long animation where they crumble down instead of just die, if you kill them with a kamikaze, they die with the normal animation, and so it can be used to save like that 10-second crumbly animation. It does even work against Threemus.
Yeah. Well, that treasury was interesting. Not great for Edge, but we had a white spear and a crystal sword show up in that treasury.
With a Cecil already on the bench, wondering why he was left behind. The white spear, like when Zoe does get around to getting that earth crystal, if she checks the treasury, she'd be happy to see that white spear, but already has a defense sword, so.
Yeah, and that strength ring and the sorcerer robe aren't terrible pulls either.
They're not terrible, but you're not exactly excited to see them either.
No. Looks like Zoe is going to make this Mist Cave check for Demist. But just finds a Leviathan.
Okay, somebody in chat also pointing out the Moonveil bumps it up to a 2 instead of a 1 out of 10. As far as the rate that treasury minigame goes. Looks like both runners are going to be heading into Baron Castle now.
Yeah, this is an interesting play since we know that this check cannot lead to the Luca key. But with them also only needing the adamant for go mode, it could definitely be a gamble play for that adamant.
And on Zoe's side, Zoe doesn't have 10 key items yet, so likely doesn't want to spend a grind for that, for bringing herself up to the levels that she wants to be for Volvalis.
Yeah, she's
without getting that 10 key items when she's so close.
Yeah, she's sitting at 9 key items right now, and getting a 10th key item from Baron would speed up her grind a lot.
Does spot ninja swords and is happy to see those. Picks up one for rounding out Edge's weapons. It's been a time investment to gear up these Edges because it's basically been like check every single shop in the game so far that she's done. It did kind of pay off, but we've also seen a fair number of ninja swords from boxes at this point.
And we have found our bonus round. Sitting on the throne of Baron Castle is the Demist.
Well, if you're really trying, like Zoe in particular might be happy to see that because it almost guarantees that she'll be at 10 key items after this. On the other hand, I would kind of put Zyrek at a slight advantage here just for already having that darkness crystal in hand.
Yeah, Zyrek already has that darkness crystal, has already cleared that Feymarch objective, and has cleared the other boss in the Feymarch as well, and if that earth crystal ends up leading to something, that could be an advantage for him as well. And just another Rydia in Baron, so not gonna take her along. And as Zoe enters her Demist fight, we will see what the reward for getting through this Baron Castle is. And that's the hook. That's the entire seed open to our runners at this point. They have access to every single check in the game, at least on Zyrak's side.
Yeah. Chad also pointing out, however, that that hook does make Rat Tail not Luca Key. However, it could be a vanilla adamant, which would put Zyrak into go mode.
And just some diamond armor from Demist, so Rydia's mom not having the value tonight.
Zyrak gonna take this hovercraft over and do the check here at Silvera, at the Adamant Cave.
And it looks like you trade your rat tail for a pink tail, and then you trade that in immediately for an Avenger, which would be really nice if Zyrak had a cane. So Zoe will probably appreciate that when she turns in the rat tail.
Yeah, that's true. Defense sword plus Avenger sword is a really nice swap routine to Avenger Glitch Cane.
Yeah.
Zyrak continuing to fade music.
When you swap to the Avenger in battle, the game doesn't update to the stats of the Avenger, but it gives you the auto Zerk status of the Avenger without updating the stats, so it'll use the stats of the defense sword. But you'll get the auto berserk of the Avenger, which is very helpful.
I believe you also get the strength and agility of the Avenger, which is, you know, plus 10 and plus 10, which is very respectable. Zyrak going back down to check this this Odin. It's a Dark Knight Cecil. This isn't exactly a kind Dark Knight Cecil spot, but just throwing some cure potions should be enough to get through it.
Yeah. Yeah, Edge will looks like will survive with these two Cure 2 potions. It doesn't matter if there's only one person standing, that's all you need for Dark Knight Cecil to give his speech.
So he lands it at Troya and then leaves.
Probably leaving a save there to reset to Troya, probably planning to do music if this Baron basement check turns out to be nothing. Which, with it being a Masamune, that's going to be a hard thing to leave behind.
Yeah, at the same time, having purchased those ninja swords, I wouldn't necessarily feel bad because it's a marginal, like it's not that high above replacement value at this point.
Yeah. It's nice, but with the amount of time it would take to walk back out and fly over to Troya, might not be worth it.
again, having the slightly nerve-wracking, only a single edge surviving after throwing your Cure 2s. Possibly worried that if that second Cure 2 is even going to go off in time, but gets through the fight.
Meanwhile,
Zyrak getting everyone in chat excited about some music.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, when we go down to the bottom of Cape Magnus, Eddie normally plays a very nice song in the vanilla game. It's very lovely, but we got bored of hearing the same song every time. So we decided to randomize it.
I mean, that randomization, that has been there since the very beginning of this randomizer.
Yes, music has been randomized since the very first version.
But it is a wonderful thing to have.
It looks like Zoe walked that Masa Mune out and is now going to give us potentially back-to-back music. Has 2 Masamunes on that one edge.
Particularly, that means her anchor, her center spot, is very fast, which does have implications in that it slows down everyone else. On the other hand, nobody else besides that edge especially matters. It looks like Zoe, I thought she might decide at the last minute to fade music, but nope, is going to go for it. Looks like Randomania 4 folks are coming on in. I forget which race was on that channel tonight.
And it looks like our music tonight is the house music from The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time.
And we have a fairly straightforward Kanazo fight. Zoe also gets to take advantage of the full heal here. Goes in with a single parallel edge.
And it looks like the timing is working out just perfectly so that as music wraps up on one side, on Zyrak's side, we're going to be getting music from Zoe immediately after. And just another crystal sword for music.
Well, that means something's got to be on the moon, because that was... Oh no, we haven't checked Tower of Zot yet. We haven't checked Tower of Zot. So Zot is the very last Earth check that is available. And this Earth crystal was found off of the Ashura spot, so that indicate, this could be either Adamant or Luca key. We've been pointing out that anything that was behind the pan couldn't have the Luca key, and there were several key items that were behind the pan.
Yeah, this Zot play could be either the Adamant or the Luca key, but one of those 2 key items, it has to be on the moon at this point.
So he's seeing that crystal sword having the same reaction of resetting out. Doesn't have the Earth crystal, so won't be hitting up Zot right now. As Zyrak engages the CPU at the Mega Sister spot.
Yeah, I believe Zoe's only options at this point are the two Feymarch fights.
That is correct. She is going to spend a little bit of Sirens now. She does have her 10 key items after that Baron check.
And Randomania 3 folks coming in and joining us in this race. Thank you for the raid. And welcome.
So one thing I'm wondering is Zoe just going to do all her leveling right now? Because Zyric hasn't done any leveling, really, any dedicated leveling, really, and with
It's definitely very tempting, although
yeah.
With the entire lunar subterrane still on the table, I would be hesitant to level all the way up to Zeromus levels at this point.
That is true. On the other hand, those levels can help you power through lunar bosses faster. So there's a potential trade-off.
And we see the power couple up at top of Zot. Cecil apparently had taken over Kane's job with a Vanilla Rosa. Zyrek taking this Cecil.
Taking that Cecil. He does have an Avenger. He doesn't. Oh no, he does have.
He does have that Crystal Sword still.
This is an interesting choice. I actually wouldn't have taken this, even with the Crystal Sword available, just because I value that heavy anchor when you're berserking a Masamune Edge so highly.
Yeah, having this Cecil will... Well, Cecil himself will be doing a lot of damage. It will slow down those edges for the rest of the seed, assuming he doesn't put a curse string on that Cecil.
Yeah. And on the other hand, being still like level 30 with most of his party or so, you know, that Cecil's likely to just end up at the same, like at Zeromus levels like everyone else, unless he deliberately kills him off.
Yeah, with a lot of the grind still to go and Cecil getting double experience until he catches up to within 5 levels of the rest of the party, Cecil will probably end up hitting Zeromus ready levels right around when the rest of this party does.
I mean, someone in chat mentioning, like, leave him at level 45. 45 is the magic number where Cecil has 28 agility, which divides evenly into 14, and therefore is the threshold for Zeromus being a little bit slower.
Yeah, Zeromus gets slower every multiple of 14 of your vanilla, of your anchor's agility, except for 14, which is not a breakpoint.
Well, with 14, there's always a minimum of 1, so anything less than 14 is no better than 14 and might make your own party faster. Looks like Zoe's just going to grab a few more Sirens just in case if she needs more for later, but is prepping to go to this, prepping to go down to this Feymarch boss. And meanwhile, on the other side, we saw a Luca key from the Tower of Zot. So that is our go mode for Zyrak. Just needs to unlock the sealed cave. On the other hand, came to the Dwarf Castle shop. This isn't the shop that has sirens.
Stocking up on Bacchuses looks like.
I don't know if I ever need 30 Bacchus wines when I'm already in go mode, but already has
20 sirens.
Okay, never mind.
So...
I didn't notice that.
I mean, if you already have plenty of sirens, you may as well spend all the rest of your money on Bacchus wines, just to make sure you don't run out.
Bacchus wine every single just back as white every single one of these. That might be the case.
And with Zarak unlocking the sealed cave, he gets his crystal and is now in go mode, just needs levels to take on this Threemus fight.
That very last spot before the Earth was clear. So it's, no moon at all. It's not necessarily haunted. There's an adamant rock up there somewhere.
Yes, we know that there is an adamant rock up there somewhere, and the package is up there somewhere if you are so inclined.
I don't think at this point anyone's especially inclined to go turning in the package. Zoe is having a significantly faster fight on Valvalis here, just because she did most of her leveling already. On the other hand, that go mode already being there is a little bit of a problem.
Yeah, and unless Zoe takes the Mylon Z fight next door and then chases this Earth Crystal, she's going to be heading up to the moon and checking a bunch of lunar altars looking for this adamant.
Mm-hmm. And then even then, when she finds the adamant, she'd have to come back down. So it's not like some situations where you can go up to the moon, clear a boss spot, and then immediately run to Zeromus.
Yeah. At least having the pass, she wouldn't have to come back down and then walk back up and go through the whole lunar subterrane, but it's still... You'd want to fly back and forth between the moon and the blue planet as few times as possible, in general.
Yeah, even one back and forth is something that you're not usually excited to see. So we'll see how she reacts.
Looks like is walking out to take the save.
Yeah.
So looks like she's planning on taking the Mylon Z fight.
Yep. Zarek takes a moment to check Cecil's level. Does anyone remember the entire chain? So I'm not sure which chain you mean, but as far as where our relevant key items were, so we had the warp glitch had the pan, then that led to it led to Sheila giving the rat tail and the Baron key, and then Baron Castle had the hook and a piece of equipment, and it also had Demist. Demist also had a piece of equipment. And likewise, Odin had a piece of equipment. There was also the legend sword off of the Sylphs, I believe it was.
Yes. Silverfire, I'm seeing all these weird flags in chat. It looks like a Z with a question mark. Is it nap time or is something else going on?
I don't know. I feel like a nap time right now. Is it nap time? Is that what time it is? Or is it time to kick someone's butt?
I think it might be time to kick someone's butt.
But whose butt are we kicking?
That's the question, isn't it? So as we go into this Zeromus fight on Zyrax screen, we like to randomize what sprite Zeromus has at the end of the game. Since Zeromus is a complicated boss, we can't stick him in the waterfall. That's too cruel. So instead, we change up his sprite a bit, and as we see this crystal toss, we're going to find out whose butt we're kicking tonight.
And here's a free Enterprise raid just in time to see the Zeromus transformation sequence.
It's Yetimus.
It's the Yeti! Zyrax setting up the Avenger swap with that crystal sword. Edge takes a very beefy nuke, but Rosa's gonna get right on that.
Meanwhile, Zoe looting the treasury, finding that white spear and that crystal sword.
So fun fact, thanks to Scalakitty about this sprite, is that this was made by Drew Wise from the Yeti for AGDQ 2019, when Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise was featured in AGDQ. But most of the randomized sprites are the work of Scalakitty. So with 3 Berserkers going and an AoE Cure 4 from a reasonably well-leveled Rosa, there is some things that could go wrong on this fight, but not very many.
Yeah. I don't see that radio lasting the whole fight, but that isn't too much of an issue.
No, he went ahead and had her drink some Bacchus wine as well.
Yeah, may as well not have her taking turns and just have her attacking and not... So you can sit on Rosa's turn without wasting anyone's turns.
I'm gonna top off the little bit of HP leaked health before this big bang goes off. Big Bang does leave you with a 2 hit points per tick of leaking HP.
And there's the Big Bang, unnerved. Rydia goes down, not surprising anyone.
Yeah, we're pretty, with the amount of damage he's done, we're pretty likely to go straight into Meteor now.
Yeah, the rest of the party looks pretty safe, especially after this Cure 4.
Well, 700 health isn't exactly safe if a Meteor immediately follows up that Big Bang, but the Cure 4 did resolve first. Ooh, actually a black hole before the Meteor. I guessed incorrectly. I thought I had a better track of how much damage was being dealt.
And there's the Meteor. Just coming in.
Rocks falling. Nobody's at critical health.
This sea fight should be wrapping up fairly shortly.
Recast that Berserk on the edge for good measure. So he's immediately leaving the that Cecil on the pedestal here.
And we have the flash and a crumble from, on Zyrak's side, GG's to Zyrak.
GG's to Zyrak. Zoe does look like in a good position to be right on his heels, only basically a Zeromus fight behind.
Yeah, she's made the right plays, going Upzot will get that Luca key. Only has to unlock the sealed cave, and then her levels look pretty good. Maybe wants a little bit more, but
I mean, it's possible with the double XP she'll get a level off of Rosa on Rosa here, and kind of Rosa's levels are really the only ones you truly care about.
yeah. And if Rosa, with one more level, Rosa should pass 2000 HP.
Yep. I wouldn't be surprised if she just goes even if she doesn't get that level, though.
Yeah, with the gear on Rosa, Rosa is probably safe through unnerfed Big Bangs.
With a white shirt and a life staff. That is some very impressive magic defense and stats. And that is actually a level from the 19k XP. So anyway, we now have Zyrek in the room once Zyrek unmutes his mic. Congratulations on your win.
Thank you, Silver. Appreciate it.
Yeah, GG's.
Thanks, Anakat.
I want to say a lot of it came down to the fact that you kind of one-dipped a lot of things that Zoe didn't one-dip. In particular, that Fame Arch. It wasn't exactly a fast fight, but it was like you didn't lose control of the fight, which is really what you're worried about when you're taking on like an early Valvalis at the Leviathan spot like you did. Is there anything you think that you want to talk about that happened in that seed?
That was a lot of early power in that seed with the double edge start, obviously. So the early game, you get to blast through it really quickly, which is nice. And then I was worried that the edge weapons weren't coming. So I was like, am I going to have to worry about getting these guys replaced if I can't find anything for them? And then after more looting than I would have liked, the edge weapons came in finally. So I got to do, when I got down to the Fame Arch area, I had 1.5 edges, basically. And I decided to that was enough with those bosses that I could take my shots. Definitely could have gotten unlucky, like if the bosses choose to just hit the person casting Blink right before it goes off every time. Like it can definitely, there's definitely some risk involved with trying to do them, but worked out okay. And yeah, it basically meant like in terms of travel time, I got to do the seed as about as sufficiently as I could have ever hoped to do it.
We just have Zoe snagging a couple more levels on Rosa before the Threemus fight. Zoe probably looted even more than you, and does have slightly better quality edge weapons to show for it, but like only at a marginal level at this point with like when you're comparing like ninja swords to Mazamunes.
Right, yeah. Like I said, they did show up eventually, and I got the extra Mazamune off of Odin Castle, which I really wanted to reset out of, but I was, it's a big enough upgrade. I should just walk it out. It felt bad the whole way out, though.
Yeah, that is kind of how that feels, isn't it?
Yeah.
Zoe setting up that Avenger glitch, setting Kane up for the Avenger glitch on this fight. Looks like she's gearing up to have a very fast Threemus fight herself. One thing, when you, I kind of want to ask one more thing about your routing choices, and that's mainly like when you get that Darkness Crystal off of the required fight, and you still have, you still at that point had one of 2 key items to go. There's a lot of debate about like Earth versus Moon there.
Yep.
Do you want to talk about why you made that the decision you did, which was effectively to go all in on Earth?
Right. So I think it was Tower I did after that, basically. Trying to remember. But basically, during the next check that I was doing, I was thinking the whole time, if I don't get go mode off this, am I going to the moon or am I staying here? And ultimately, I decided to stay on Earth. Because the Valvella's Fright Leviathan is not really free, and it would be very easy to try it and get unlucky or decide you're going to leave it for later. In which case, you're sort of forced into full clearing the Earth before you get to go to the moon. So I figured if that was the case, I wasn't going to leave go mode on Earth. So I decided to just clear all the Earth checks out first.
Okay, so there's another factor in that though, and that is the fact that did you put the math together that Luca Key could not possibly have been in Baron Castle?
I hadn't thought about that, but that's true. Yep.
Yeah, there were a number of chains behind that pan. Well, the pan leading into that Baron Castle, where there were a number of checks that could not possibly be the Luca Key.
Right. Yeah, so it sort of limits where the Luca Key could be on Earth, right? It basically kind of had to be where it was if it was on Earth at all, pretty much.
Of course, the Adamant could have been in Baron Castle.
Right.
So there's still, one of two options left. But I was wondering if you had noticed that, or if that didn't click.
Right. I probably should have, but I didn't. I will fully admit that I didn't at the time. No. The fact that I had that crystal sword and that white spear, and that with sirens available, that Tella wasn't really doing anything anymore. Doing the stuff with the character check attached to it was also attractive to try and track down a Cecil or a Kane. So that was part of my decision making as well. But that definitely does change the odds. It's a good point.
So a question from chat: why could Luca not be at Baron? Because when we did Dwarf Castle, they warped to get the item out of Sealed Cave, which was the pan. And the pan led to Baron Key and the Legend Sword. But that meant that anything that's behind that Baron Key, which we saw the hook, which led to the Rat Tail, as well as the two spots in Baron Castle and Demist's and Rydia's mom, those all can't be the Luca Key, because that would be an item blocked by it, like blocking itself. So it's because of that warp glitch letting you get the Luca Key item out of sequence. We're just waiting for Zoe to finish up her Threemus fight, and do you have anything that made you worried this seed?
Other than I was a little anxious about the Feymarch stuff just because of what I mentioned earlier. Like, it's definitely possible you get unlucky with your targeting and it doesn't go particularly well. But once I got through that and the edge weapons started rolling in, then no, I wasn't really particularly scared of anything anymore. It was just route and go as fast as you can.
I actually remember at one point Rosa on that fight dying, and I thought that the fight was going to start unraveling from that point, but you managed to put it back together without having to really stop too much.
Yep. Yeah, there's not an awful lot about that seed that I would change other than doing the Earth Crystal before all the other overworld stuff that I did, I guess. But I mean, other than that, there's not. I am very happy with the way I played that overall.
Yeah, your routing was really clean overall.
Uh-oh. Zoe's in a bit of a pickle if nobody dodges this.
Ooh.
Is this gonna be a swag weight to finish? Or is Rosa gonna pick someone up?
Looks like that's what she's doing.
Oh yes. I'm happy to see this. This is why Rosa is Bay.
Indeed.
3 videos come out before the white finishes casting. Rosa dodges all of them.
And that's the final hit.
That is the final hit for 1:26:42 official time from Zoe. And let's get her in here. GG, Zoe. A couple things didn't go so well for you that seed, but overall that was well executed and good run.
Thank you. Thank you.
You made so one of the big divergences there was that Zyrak did opt to do that Volvalis fight at a much lower level. It had the Darkness Crystal, which neither of you did anything with, but I'm curious as to some of the calculus there, like what you were evaluating. If how early do you want to take that kind of a fight? Because it seemed like your answer to that was, I don't want to take that early at all. Especially with it looked like you got the cane specifically because it was a Volvalis.
Yeah, exactly. So with the way I had routed my party early game, keeping low on party members just so the time between edges turns would be shorter. By the time I got down there and saw it, I went, okay, I can't take it right now, but I do know where there's a cane. But I'm gonna have to make another trip down here anyway, so I'm just gonna put this off until I don't really need to worry about it. I have been rudely punished for taking Fey March bosses that on paper I know I can do, but board face AI says I can't do, so I didn't want anything to do with that today.
Yeah, that almost happened to Zyrak actually when Rosa got punched. Because Volvalis, if you don't have those blinks going, then the fight can fall apart very quickly.
Exactly.
Were there any parts that you felt good about?
Kind of not really. I did a full clear of the earth. So stuff like Tower Key or Tower and Twin Harp not paying off really hurt and probably made up the majority of that 10-minute difference.
Actually, both of you full cleared the earth. That was the story of this seed. I think.
Yeah, I don't think there was a single check that you didn't both
do. The sequencing was very different off of the two of you, however, but it ended up with some interesting high fives with you both entering Baron Castle, for example, at the same time, after having done different things.
Yeah. It's actually really good to know that we both full cleared the earth. I was worried that maybe Zarek had made it to that earth crystal and got that Luca key a bit earlier than I did. But yeah, just a couple of those checks made up the majority of the difference. Obviously, some better execution on Zyrex and potentially some better routing ultimately paid off, though. And GG's to Zyrex.
I mean, for both of you to have a sub 90 minute, 15 out of 17, that is some fast play out of both of you.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel paid off, and it did make up for the time that it did save me was my lower Babel trap chest looting and getting that extra Masa was nice, but ultimately one Masa is not going to make up the difference for an entire tower that didn't really give me anything.
Yeah, that wasn't exactly helpful. You spent some time in there and you got very, very marginally paid off for it, and not exactly something that is if you told me I could go in the tower and get a Masamune and that was it, yeah, of course I'm not going to do that. But let's see. Were there any moments in the seed that spooked you or scared you?
That Golbez at the top of tower kind of caught me off guard because I didn't have the proper really agility set up for that spot, but I know its magic power is pretty low, so I felt like I could get through it, but I knew my Star Veil was going to run out, and so I was just hoping that between it running out, I would be able to survive whatever he threw at me, and I barely did with 50 HP on edge, and then I got through it. But that was probably the scariest one.
Yeah, that certainly scared me too when I was watching. What I hadn't put together is I hadn't put that math together that you did, that you knew your Star Veil was going to wear off. Whereas I would have been yeah, why isn't she throwing it back as fine? And then you proved to just have made the correct call. That because you wouldn't be able to recast that Star Veil if that Bacchus was going.
Yep, exactly. I knew I didn't need a Zerk, but I knew that I wouldn't be at risk for 2 spells, roughly, depending on which 2 hit me. And
Yeah.
so just thought
And you got hit by the 2 strongest ones, I believe. It was like the Lit 3 and...
Lit 3 was a low roll, too. I was pretty happy.
Really, it was like a 650. That's like on the high end, I think.
It's been an hour. I can't remember the numbers.
I remember the numbers because I wrote it down. I also did find it amusing with the solo Rosa surviving the meteor and then just like dodging 3 more meteors while she channels a white spell.
At that point, I was like, okay, I could live 2 up, like maybe the cane to auto enter the queue, or live 2 up an edge to get a few more swings. And I was like, or I can just cast Meteo and hope that it kills. At this point, reminds you, I didn't know I had lost the race because I don't look at the race channel. So I was like, let's just go for it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It was very amusing to see Rosa basically giving up on the rest of the party and being like, fine, I'll take care of Z myself. That was something.
Well, the rest of the boys were useless. Rosa had to take it in their own hands.
Well, I believe that is it for tonight. Any last words to my co-commentator?
No, don't have anything in particular I want to say.
All right. Well, we don't have any more races being restreamed tonight, but tomorrow there is, during the day, Couch 23 versus Cassidy Bowen on the Free Enterprise channel at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. There is Kinda Nerdy Housewife versus Gundam Pilot Spaz on the Randomania, on one of the Randomania network channels at 7 p.m. Ben versus Harumph on the Free Enterprise channel at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And the rematch after the tied race between Lord Bobbree and Neon Gray on RPG Limit Break at 9 p.m. Eastern. So that one in particular is definitely going to be exciting. I think after they scored an exact to the second tie, which was reevaluated by the admins, I think it's safe to say that it's a pretty even matchup.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be looking forward to that race.
This is in fact the second race in Free Enterprise history that has tied but is the first rematch ever done, because the last time that there was a tie, neither player needed the win to advance in any way, so they didn't re-race. It was just declared a tie. And that was in Zima Zone 1 between Rivers and shoot. I'm failing on my Free Enterprise history class right now. But this one, that rematch is definitely required and definitely going to be exciting. Is Rivers versus Night Dew. Thank you, Scala Katie. So this rematch though, it's definitely going to be exciting. With so this is Silverfire signing off. Do we have a raid target though?
Looks like we're going to be heading over to Raid Kobahi, who is doing some group flag practice.
Right, that should be good to watch. So thank you everyone. Have a good night.